Potato Cat and welcome to my channel. Today we're playing the letter. Previously, after escaping and all that, we got to the park and Ashton got laughed at by a scaredy cat for being a scaredy cat. Rightfully so, because he really deserved that. He was completely losing his mind. And we headed over to Isabella's. Fell asleep there because, separating at that point, not a great idea. Woke up, found a scholarship letter, yay for Isabella, and realized, well, we had no idea what to do. We don't know how to handle the supernatural. He's a cop. It's not in his manual. And I'm like, oh yeah, there are two other people. We should make sure they're okay. And now we're calling everybody. And that's pretty much where I left off. Becca first. She'll get angry at me more for worrying about her. She isn't some helpless damsel in distress, after all. No, she throws books at things, which even though I don't like her, I still appreciate that. Also, I did say, okay, this is going back to normal. Easy only happens when things like what previously happened. Sound. Here we go. Okay. I should make sure that actually worked. I don't know if it's like a thing where, okay, good. She isn't the shy little girl I knew when we were children. We're already far from the people we were back then. But that's more than enough reason to check on her. I don't have to imagine taking anything head on. She'll do it instead of asking for help when she needs it. That is true, she did. I don't care if she gets mad at me. If only to know that she's fine. A ring in the silence of the hallway. Its sound alone might as well be sharp enough to pierce through my ears. Another second passes. 2, 3. But when on the 9th ring, it goes straight to her voicemail. A cold feeling instantly lodges in my stomach.
Rebecca Gales here. You've reached my voicemail. Sorry if I can't get to you right now. Oh, and if this is Isabella, yes, you're free to reheat the food in my fridge. Otherwise, leave a message.
Probably just busy, that's all. Though I still barely manage to keep my voice even when I speak.
Hey, Becca, call me back when you're free. We need to talk. ASAP.
Becca will be alright. Is alright. She's safe. She's with someone else. In the event that woman shows up, she'll have someone with her. Someone she'll be able to ask for help. She's safe. She can handle herself. Becca might have a fiery temper, but she knows when she's faced with something she can't handle herself. Rebecca will see my missed call and she'll call me back. Though I don't express it enough, Rebecca is someone I consider important to me. Oh, look at her with the glasses. She's been my friend for the longest. Anybody else would have been fed up with me and left. The girls stuck by me, no matter how big of a jerk I've been. There's Zach and Isabella now, too, of course. I'll always be thankful for having them around. The worst times before, however, Becca was there. No one believes it when I say it, but I've surely had my awful moments as a bratty kid and as a horrible teen. Issues. I've too many of them to count and refuse to deal with for a time. At least that's what Andrew likes to tell me. I tend to think nothing of it. It has mellowed down over the years, thanks to the professors mostly. But at times, I do wonder if it still burdens me the way it did all those years ago. After all, I was terrible, especially around the time of my parents' separation. Looking back at it now, I have no reason to direct all my frustrations towards everyone else. Well, I wasn't a kid who lashed out at anyone, preferring to keep to myself and turning those negative feelings into more productive things. I've grown distant from a lot of people because of it. My old friends back in my old school and the neighbors I've hung out with before moving. A habit I've likely brought with me into adulthood. I was just so angry with everyone and everything. All I kept thinking about was myself, wondering why me. In retrospect, I was a selfish little bastard. I thought the world revolved around me. That I shouldn't have been going through it. I believed my behavior was entitled. That I had the right. Tough times. But she stuck with me, snapped me out of my little sulk, as she often phrases it, whenever she sees the chance to bring it up. She didn't tolerate my bullshit, but she didn't leave me alone either. If anything, the whole thing made her stick around. My concern may have grown a bit overbearing as the years went by, but she's still an old friend, nevertheless. I owe her a lot. That won't change.
Damn it. Where are you, Becca?
That was a wonderful little scene. However, that story he told us nothing about what happened there. Like, she was behind. Was she bullied? And he protected her? Is that what snapped? Like, he realized that he needs to protect people? What was happening there? Good info that we learned about their past, but don't know the connection with the picture. Okay. Another message left on her voicemail. Then on my third call, I hang up. For the time being, I can't do anything more than to wait for her to return my calls. Worrying aimlessly won't get me anywhere. Zach, on the other hand, that guy attracts trouble, no matter how much he tries to avoid it. Doesn't help how he hasn't been too hot lately with a lot of people. His mention of plans yesterday doesn't sit too well with me either. He might be the next responsible adult after Rebecca out of the four of us, but I've still got to check on this big guy. Make sure he's doing okay, at the very least. Whatever he has plans on doing. All I'm asking is for it not to be idiotic. He's a sensible guy, I'm sure. I'm so sorry, Zach. However, desperation clings. and pushes people to do things rational or irrational. It doesn't matter. Clear thinking flies out the window, and the moment you're in danger, I sincerely hope he has not found himself in a tricky situation. His phone doesn't even ring before he answers, or his voicemail at least.
Hey, it's Zach. Well, a voicemail anyway. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So, just leave a message, yeah? And no, Ash, you're not allowed to lockpick your way into my apartment again. Just do what any other decent human being does and call if I'm not around. Thanks.
It amuses me what their voicemail is. So Rebecca's like, okay, Isabella, you can just reheat my food. And then anybody else who's like hearing this is like, what? And for Zach, it'd be like, okay, so I'm calling Mr. Zach, whatever his last name is, I can't remember. And then listening to this more, he'll leave me a voice. Okay, Ash, don't lockpick your way into my apartment. I'd be quite concerned. Did he turn it off? Why? 'Cause he got sent to jail. I don't want to assume the worst yet. Maybe he has forgotten to charge it? Can't be. The guy can be a bit of a Boy Scout, even more than I am as a cop. He's the type who has an extra battery or a power bank in his bag if he ever needs it. And he always does. He won't say anything or brag about it, but he's got quite a roster of VIP freelance clients. He won't just leave his phone dead in case he's on the field, particularly when people will likely be looking for him. He always leaves his connection open whenever clients or his friends need him. Zach is reliable like that.
Why isn't anyone answering?
His mobile in an out-of-range area sounds more plausible, although the thoughts of it doesn't completely shake off the unease. Unlike Rebecca and I, he took the time to listen to what Isabella said. And even he didn't believe it. He was definitely the first one to offer his help, or try to do something. If he ends up in trouble, doing whatever it is, so help me, I'm going to. Well, I can't be rash. I'm aware of that. Been running the same reminder in my head since last night. But if something happens, I'm certain my reaction won't be pretty.
Yo, Zach, call me back, alright? I wanted to check in and, yeah, just please call me back.
It's usually a joke between us when I say he's the Watson of my Sherlock. I don't see him as some assistant to put aside until he's needed, like some people like to believe, though. He's not some pity friend I keep around to make myself look good.
If anything, he's the one who stayed by me out of pity.
Zach's the one who puts up with me the most of the time, even when he doesn't need to. It's not a case of cool cop who helped out a minority. In truth, I was hard-headed, hot-tempered, and a reckless rookie up until I met him. It wasn't anything sudden, and some part of me is still that rookie, but I've grown Thanks to him, he tempers that part of me. Considering how our first impressions went, I'm lucky he stuck around. Becca and I may have spent a lot of years together as children, but Zach, he's probably the closest thing I call to a best friend. Though it's more than that, a camaraderie no words can express. He has my back, and I'll always have his. He's a brother I've never had the luck of ever having. Only a child and all.
And I have every reason to worry about my brother.
Becca's neighbor did say she went out to meet with someone. No specific names. If I'm wrong, and she's not with Professor Clark, then maybe it's with Zach. They've never been close, but it's not the kind of awkward friendship where meeting together remains out of the question. Regardless, I continue dialing for his phone another 3 times, like I've done with Becca's. In the end, after the 3rd attempt, with no one answering, I stop, cut the call with a ragged exhale.
Waiting game it is then.
Waiting game. Journal. October 30th. After the close call, Ashton spent the night at Isabella's and to keep awake and be kept awake by nightmares. And then, utter loss and with all of his beliefs overturned, Ashton decides to check on Zachary and Rebecca. Unfortunately, neither returned the call. Well, we know Becca is safe and we know Zach is screwed, so I'd even game mode is fair. Okay. I've been trained for those. Hell, I'm used to them, just not when it comes to people I'm close to. Much as I keep reminding myself to maintain a level head, it's a whole different matter when it's someone you know. Personal feelings will likely get involved at some point. It's starting now, actually. Using anxious strings coiling and uncoiling, causing a racket inside my stomach. It annoys me that all I can do right now is grit my teeth and trudge back to Isabella's apartment. Useless. That's what I am in the face of this. A mad dash around Lexborn and Onslum isn't going to help things. It's not like I'll simply stumble across them on the side of the road during a drive. The city's too big a place for one person to go searching for only two people. I'll be lucky if I even glimpse the hair of either one of them. With one last frustrating glance towards the open skies, I slipped back into Isabella's apartment and slammed the door behind me. You trying to wake Isabella up? I might have already grown used to this, but the waiting will always be the hardest part. More so is the people you care about.
Ash, did you really have to shut it like that?
See? Why is it question mark? We know who it is. This is not the first time I've seen Isabella like this. Standing casually by her kitchenette, a ladle in hand, keeping an eye on whatever's stewing on the stove. while humming a soft tune under her breath. 5 years ago has become a common sight after the three of them, including Zach and Rebecca, had a mutual interest in cooking. After that, whenever our schedule allows it, one of them will invite everyone to dinner or lunch instead of eating out. Rebecca prefers it that way, healthier, she claims. Zach's just too happy to be able to cook for everyone. Isabella, on the other hand, as long as there's food, she's happy. Me? I've been banned from the kitchen ever since the pressure cooker incident. Easier times, good times. Right now, however, the scene brings an odd sense of normalcy. A strange fit with all the things going around us. Not unwelcome, only bizarre, I suppose. Isabella doesn't follow up on her question earlier, but she does raise an eyebrow my way when I take too long to answer. For that, I only offer a casual shrug in response and a short answer.
I've checked with Zach and Rebecca. I'm just waiting to hear back from them.
I'll add in a quip or two for her if the timing for a joke isn't off or doing so won't be inappropriate. I don't want to alarm her either. There's no reason to yet. Until I received an answer from Rebecca or Zach, whichever comes first. Nevertheless, it's clear she has plenty of questions. It's right there in subtle creases between her eyes, in the subtle crease between her eyebrows. An inquisitive gleam in her eyes. Curious as she is, though, she decides against voicing all of her questions out. Instead, she shifts her attention back to the stove and gestures vaguely with her hands in the couch's direction.
Well, if we're going to wait for them, don't stand around there. It's getting distracting.
You're just cooking. How am I distracting?
By existing, don't you know how cooking works?
I don't know. Something might explode again, maybe. Zach's kitchen ban for you is also in effect here, you know. Now shoo, go. Stop hovering. You'll ruin the food. I'll be done here soon.
Hovering the worst when you're cooking. She leaves no room for an argument by swatting the ladle at me, and just like that, I've been kicked out of the kitchen. Left with nothing else to do, I drift back to her tiny living space and slump down on the couch. Closing my eyes, I allow the noise from the television to guide my thoughts. The ones I've been keeping at bay, freeing them from the cage I built around them. I won't have to think. One by one, they trickle back into my consciousness, each more frightening and unnerving than the other. So many things going on, so many things happening. The papers we've gotten from BRC doesn't provide any comfort either. Seriously, is there even a point to those after last night? Well, what asking those people do? If anything, has only proved there might be more copies of that dumb piece of paper. We have one here, but how many exactly is there out there? More importantly, how do we get out of this stupid mess?
Ashton.
Damn it. I haven't felt this kind of bone-weary exhausted in years.
I don't want to think what might happen next in case I miss something. Shit.
Rebecca, Zach, Isabella.
They're all depending on me, and
Ash!
The voice snaps me out of my thoughts abruptly, wiping away everything, running a racket inside my head. Suddenly, Isabella is there, crouched in front of me. When I crack an eye open, I haven't even noticed the exact moment when I bent over and buried my head in my hands. Figures when she's staring at me like I fainted or something. The crease on her eyebrow grew deeper, and my lack of response. Although she's merely staring at me without saying a word, her expression says everything. So much for trying not to alarm her with bad news.
sorry, I just spaced out for a moment. Don't mind me.
Don't mind me, I'm just having a mild panic attack. For a brief moment, she seems to accept that. Quietly, she shifts, stands up, and takes the empty space right beside me. All done without a single comment. Then, the next thing I know, she's gently pushing a bowl in my hands. What is that? I assume it's going to tell me. The scent reaches me first, before I've gotten the chance to take in what she just handed me. A faint, sweet smell of cocoa wafts from the dish. Calming, comforting, despite the multitude of things bothering me. It certainly smells like the kind of food you'll eat on a rainy day. Though, from the get-go, it doesn't look as appetizing. What is this even? It kind of looks like Cocoa Crisps with some whipped cream on top. Porridge? Why would you put chocolate in it? And milk drizzled on top? She tells me my tastes are weird, yet here she is, handing me something actually as strange. In fact, she has already started digging in hers. I'm just not sure if the taste will be equally as appealing. Baffled, I glance her way. She offers no immediate answer, simply continues eating, as if she hasn't done so in a week. We're focused solely on the television. She's not watching, however, just listening. As background noise, the voices from it seems too cheerful. A welcome distraction, if anything. It's only after she has finished off half the bowl does she acknowledge the question in my eyes. With a sigh, she cradles the dish on her lap and looks down at it briefly. Her lips part, then closes. A hesitation, though I don't push her. There's a distant air on her, as if she has remembered something that warrants a poignant thought. When she speaks, at last, it's in a tone too careful, like she's still weighing her words, considering the proper phrasing for it. Yet, sincerity underlies each syllable once they're out in the open.
You should eat.
That's what she says. She's not going to say more than that?
Back at home, Mama would never let us leave the house if we hadn't eaten breakfast yet. Even Papa has got an earful when he tried. So eat. You'll need it.
You're not going to tell him what the food is, though. You can say, it's blah blah blah, and I'll be like, cool, blah blah blah. I will try blah blah blah, and then we eat blah blah blah. I go, it's not so bad. She returns to her food afterwards. I can only stare at the one she has proffered not a few minutes ago. Proffered? I prefer offered. Warm against my hands, tempting me to take a bite. Well, we're going to stop the episode here. We will see if Ashton takes a bite of mystery food in the next episode. I'm Tater Cat. If you haven't already liked and subscribed, have a wonderful morning, evening, afternoon.